Hey everybody, an end of the year roundup on the 3 best weird cases of 2024. Number 1 is the MH370 video, as promoted by Ashton Forbes, actually real? Number 2, a year of fascinating tiny updates that add to the big picture of Calvine. And 3, the one that you trolls have all been waiting for, an update on BLC1. Oh boy! So Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays, whatever you celebrate. Over this year, I've had a ton of snippets of fascinating emails that add to the information on those 3 stories. Let's go over them. Starting with this breaking news about the sad disappearance of Malaysia Airlines 370. The Malaysia government are putting up a large multi-million-dollar fund, no find, no fee, to an Australian company to actually look for the wreckage in a wider area.
The disappearance of flight MH370 is one of the biggest mysteries in modern aviation history. Now, the Malaysian government has agreed to a second no-find, no-fee deal of £56 million with the company.
The search operations are expected to commence as soon as the contract is finalised and signed by both parties. They've informed us that the suitable time to restart the search in that area is between January and April, so that is the best period for them to go out on the water.
But hang on, MH370 was made to disappear in this amazing video promoted by Ashton Forbes. When I first saw that, I went, it's fake. It's some kid in his bedroom doing a cheap, easy to do CGI video. But is it? Well, most people think so because of this.
I have damning testimony.
What? If you tell me that this is the shockwave.
Do we have the shockwave on our server?
We do now, actually.
Wait, what?
I found the stock footage.
You did? Wait, you got it!
Yeah, rather, we didn't. Some people on Reddit did. This is a stock footage clip from the 90s.
Oh, hell yeah.
There's the clip from the video, and here is the stock footage.
It's perfect!
It's perfect!
The corridor crew's debunking of the MH370 video explosion as a piece of clip art. They were wrong. And why I say that in relation to the final explosion in the MH370 video is because of what you're seeing on the screen right now. This is a collection of shockwaves that I found. They're all circular, expanding, because an explosion is an explosion. So why, in my humble opinion, and that's all it is, am I saying that? Well, I have, as you know, worked in television all my life. I'm now retired to this underground bunker here in France. But during my working life, I worked in film cutting rooms making videos in science stories. Now, videos for science stories often had a graphic element. There was interviews, there was drama reconstruction, there was things that you filmed on location, but often the nitty-gritty of a point needed to be illustrated with a graphic. I've seen graphics evolve from hand-drawn animation up to the most amazing realistic CGI computer-generated imagery graphics. And I've commissioned them with directors and producers, working closely and with friends who run CGI companies. I know how it works. I know how they cut costs. And what we're seeing in the MH370 video reveals something that you probably don't know, and that the corridor crew blatantly ignored. Let me explain. When you commission a CGI video of a dinosaur and a flying cup saucer, it's very easy to have the dinosaur walking along, thank you, and the flying saucer to go in the free space above the dinosaur. There's no masking. But what's masking? Well, masking is when something goes behind another object and appears out the other side. As soon as it goes behind, you have to draw a mask to mask the object as it disappears and unmask it as it appears out the other side. Now that's pretty simple with a dinosaur, but just imagine a flying saucer flying behind a forest. You can see it through my hand being masked. Now most graphic designers, to save money, will put the saucer in the free space. There's no masking. Now I see that all the time, and it actually looks pretty cheap. Things are much more realistic if they go behind or have three-dimensional space. Both of those things are in the MH370 video. This video, in my opinion, was not done by a child in their bedroom. Whatever these objects are, why did the child in their bedroom producing a fake video make the orbs work in a spiral three-dimensional pattern going round the vapor trail? Don't bother, just put it on top, keep them away. But no, they work in three-dimensional space. Have a look at this again. And then I noticed the most amazing, expensive effect that a kid wouldn't bother to do. And Ashton Forbes and I talked about it. One of the orbs actually passes through the vapor trail, whatever it is, smoke or a contrail from the aircraft, and passes through it. And look, there's proper physics. As the mysterious orb, whatever it is, passes through all the smoke, it moves, it goes away, it reforms. That's expensive. That's not a kid in their bedroom. Why bother if it's a fake video? And there's more evidence. Why refilm your fake video off another screen, carefully masking the top and the bottom? And inside information, how did the kid in their bedroom know that the cursor, which we see off the refilmed video, is exactly the same cursor that the NRO use for observations? That comes from a very good source. There's lots of things in this video which point to it not being done as a prank. The other big clue is that it was initially released only a few days after the disappearance of the plane. It's not done in some kid's bedroom. If it is fake, it's done by an enormous graphics facility house with multiple people and a budget. Well, that raises another issue. Who paid for it? Personally, I think this video might be real, and the big question that you and I really need to understand is, what are we seeing here? Well, Ashton and I are going to deep dive into that technology which might just exist. Moving swiftly on to my birthplace, Scotland. Moving swiftly on to the Calvine UFO. Oh, what a story! And I've just seen James Fox's film where he deep dived into what David Clarke knows about the subject, somewhat ignoring what other people think about it, but it was actually quite a good clip. But ignoring that James Fox ignored a lot of people with interesting information, I have been working with people like Straith, thank you, and Stuart, thank you, who've actually been feeding me with what has actually been going on in the Calvine case this year. And they found some very interesting new bits of information. The number one reveal which is massive, about the Calvine UFO is there is a Perthshire police report of a motorist seeing the same object and reporting it to the police. The chefs on their poaching mission on the hillside were not the only people to see it. That pretty well means that it's real and not a rock in a lake, which it always still might be. And I'd also like to highlight a clip from Craig Lindsay in James Fox's film, where Craig Lindsay, actually who interviewed the chefs who saw the object, said something that most people who talk about Calvine ignore, and that's this clip.
Something that could hover without making any noise and travel at the speed that this guy said it went vertically upwards is utterly beyond my knowledge. How they keep it quiet for 30 odd years, again, beyond me.
The witnesses interviewed by Craig Lindsay said the object went vertically up at a rate of knots, not horizontal. That is a big clue. So David Clark and I both have a background in journalism, and journalists ask these questions: who, what, where, when, and how. And they're brilliant in all cases, including strange, weird UFO cases. The two most relevant questions to the Calvine sighting are when and where. The question when opens a door of information. It was just after Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, and America, through the NRO, the National Reconnaissance Office, wanted long loitering information to send back to the CIA and the American government for them to know what is going on in Kuwait. This was before very high resolution satellite live video. They needed something atmospheric to long loiter over Kuwait. Not built by the Department of Defense. No. The NRO commissioned the Energy Department. What have they got to do with it? The American Department of Energy are in charge of UFOs. They're in charge of anything exotic, not the military. I've been told the Department of Energy built for the NRO a long loitering, lighter than aircraft, probably aerogel, a vacuum balloon system that could ascend to 50,000 feet, hold its altitude with very little horizontal movement needed over an area for a long time. I think that's what was being tested in the military operation area in Perthshire prior to deployment in the Middle East. Pulling together information from Josh in Canada, Straith, and everybody else involved, including people at Machrihanish, I think this might be what happened. Now, it's only an opinion. It's not the truth. Nick Pope knows more about this than he can say. But this is what I think actually the Calvine object was. It's a lighter-than-air surveillance drone flown to Machrihanish on a C-5 transport plane, put on a truck so it didn't have to fly over Glasgow, nobody saw it, and launched in the MOA, the military operational area in Southern Highlands, where you can test stuff at a place called Calvine. The US Department of Energy, the NRO, with the help of the US Air Force transport people, needed to test the craft before deployment over Kuwait. And to test that it's going to work, they hired the only two Harriers which are operational at the weekend. No British Harrier squadrons fly at the weekend, but hang on. There's two test Harriers 30 minutes flight time away at Wharton at BAE Systems. They were tasked, maybe, to fly up over the object and test it was fully functioning. It flew up to altitude, it then descended, it was sent out to Kuwait, and it's disappeared. Or maybe it hasn't. and Nick Pope revealed the end of the story. The UK MOD honestly, genuinely did not know what this object was, but with their close cooperation with the USA, they shared the picture in Washington, and the Washington DOD and the Department of Energy and NRO went holy batshit. Do not show anybody that photograph. Where did you get it? It was a highly secret craft. They wouldn't have done that if it was a rock in a lake. Alright, Charles, what you been waiting for? BLC1 update. Now, it's about time. And I admit, I actually made a few mistakes, but I was also completely shafted by a number of people. Because the story is true. You and I are honored to live in this most amazing time. We have the tools right here, right now, to prove that we, as a human species, are not alone in the universe. The James Webb Infrared Telescope has done spectral analysis of the atmosphere of an exoplanet transiting its star. It could look through the tiny amount of atmosphere surrounding the exoplanet as it transited to do a spectral analysis of what is in that atmosphere, and they found the signs of life. And it's no coincidence that Yuri Milner and Breakthrough Listen poured lots of money into buying telescope time to look for at least 5 candidates. BL, Breakthrough Listen, Candidate 1. It's a real signal, but they don't want to say it. What they're claiming does not make any sense. Let me go over the facts and you can make up your mind. The signal is coming from a single point source. When you point a telescope at it, it's there. When you go away, it goes. You come back, it's there. Single point source. This signal was narrow band electromagnetic spectrum, like in the radio frequencies. Odd. All of that is absolutely true. Everybody confirms that. But Breakthrough Listen claim that it might be human interference. I want you to assess right now the human interference idea that Breakthrough Listen are saying about BLC1. They're claiming that a satellite lines up with Alpha Centauri, and whenever a radio telescope is pointing at that star and that exoplanet, there's a human satellite which is tracking it perfectly in lockstep, and it's transmitting a narrow band of electromagnetic wavelength which makes no sense to anything that a satellite would put out. Unlikely. But then, in my humble opinion, Breakthrough Listen lose the plot. The people at Parkes not only found a single point source, electromagnetic narrowband frequency, they also found Doppler shift, which corresponds to a planet orbiting or rotating. Oh no, it's a satellite lined up with Alpha Centauri exoplanet, transmitting electromagnetic frequencies that we don't use on Earth, and it's Doppler shifting because it's rotating like an exit. Oh, come on! Now, sure enough, the signal was LIZ, Low Information Zone, as Midwest would call it. I agree with that, and sure enough, it might be human interference. But where's the evidence that there is human interference? It seems Occam's effing razor that it's more likely to be a rotating exoplanet that's a single point source that is showing the signs of a technological signature. But that raises the real issue. Why aren't Breakthrough Listen or SETI actually coming out today and saying, I think we've got initial low information but very good evidence, and James Webb has found biological signatures of life to prove to the human race in 2024 that we are not alone in the universe, and they won't do it. They've told the Vatican, they've told your government, but they've been advised to suppress the story. Science channels on YouTube who take no risks, do boring, peer-reviewed videos, tried to close me down. I'm brave. I look at emerging technology. I also get things wrong for you. But many of the stories that you will see here, not the boring, peer-reviewed science channels, are ahead of their time. And in the BLC1 case, an inconvenient truth. Merry Christmas to you all. It's been an amazing year. Thank you very much if during 2024 you became a subscriber. And I couldn't make these films. I couldn't afford to even switch the lights on if it wasn't for Patreons. Without Patreon support, YouTube is impossible for smaller channels. If you're a true truth seeker, and I hope you are, support smaller channels, become a Patreon, where you can add your penny's worth, your knowledge, to make the films better. And if you don't want to become even a free patron, I don't know why, please give this film a big thumbs up and share it on social media. Merry Christmas, truth seekers. Because of you, the truth is out there.